Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Maren and today we're just going to lounge about. Now, I'm going to Scotland this winter to hang out with lovely people and have fun in 1830s clothing. And I have a bunch of underwear. I have an evening dress and I have a day dress. But there's going to be a lot of lounging about, hanging out, just chilling. So I really do need some loungewear. Now in the modern day, I do have several cozy big hoodies and sweatpants kind of combos. But what would be the equivalent in the 1830s? A romantic era lady would have had loungewear. The idea of some sort of dressing gown is not new. In the Georgian era, they were sometimes called a banyan and made to look very Turkish, very Eastern. By the 1830s, the most common term I've found is wrapper, something that you wrap around yourself. And I have made wrappers before. I've made an 1860s wrapper, which I absolutely love. And I took it with me to Bath in May and it is beautiful, but it is a bit too modern for this. I'm also worried that it's going to be a bit too cold because it's cotton and I would like something a bit more sturdy. A wrapper would be worn when first getting out of bed in the morning for doing light housework, having breakfast, writing some letters, and possibly also for relaxing at home in the evening if when dinner's over, if you have no guests, you have no big plans. So I've found several ones. A lot of the extant ones seem to be made in much the same way. We have a yoke and a lot of gathered fabrics. You have a lot of fabric over your chest and then that fabric is gathered at the waist with a belt. Some have wide legamotten sleeves, some have more narrow sleeves, some have trumpet sleeves. I have found one extant garment that looked more figure hugging, but it's just described as a pelisse, so it's kind of hard to know if it's made for outerwear or if it's made to lounge about in. That's actually a problem with some of the fashion plates as well. Like this one, for example. Are they just a very loose coat for evening use? Or are they a sort of dressing gown underwear sort of situation? Very hard to know. Finally, I found this one. And this one has to be a sort of wrapper because it's called robe de chambre in the text. Sorry about my French, but that literally means bedroom robe, a bedroom dress. So this one's from a very fancy printed fabric, possibly cotton or silk. I want mine to be sturdier. I want a wool wrapper for Scotland in the winter. I have this very pretty light grey 100% wool that I'd love to use. I also have some green cotton satin, some scraps left over, which I think will be very nice as a sort of contrast fabric. So yeah, let's go. I began by constructing a pattern. The bodice is the same pattern that I used for my day dress, but I wanted the pelerine-like piece that is kind of stitched to the trim at the front. So I used the pelerine pattern from Black Snails, adapted it a little, and added it to the pattern. And finally, I made a very nice pointy collar. The sleeves are very wide, but they're not very shaped, so I just took my drafted sleeves and constructed a very wide bell sleeves. I didn't feel like I needed to make a mock-up, so I went straight to cutting. I began by stitching the darts. Then I stitched the bodies together. I then stitched the pelerine together, turned and pressed. The collars were made up in much the same way. I wanted pockets, so I cut some from scraps and I inserted them in the side seams of the skirts. I then stitched the skirts together. The skirts were hemmed using bias tape cut from the contrast fabric. Then came time to stitch the skirts to the bodies. I pleated them to fit, stitched in place and hand stitched the seam allowance flat. The sleeves were stitched up, hemmed with the contrast bias tape and pleated up at the elbow. The pleats are held in place with contrast bias tape and I even stitched a little bow to the ends. After stitching the pelerine to the bodies, I stitched the colours to the pelerines and the bodies and covered that entire seam allowance with contrast bias tape. The fronts are trimmed with contrast fabric, which was stitched down to the fronts of the wrapper, turned over and then the raw edges pressed under and stitched in place as invisibly as possible. I attached hooks and eyes, alternating to avoid them popping open. And then finally, I made a belt. It's made from one layer of wool and two contrast cotton satin, and I used just a rectangular buckle that I found in my stash. And with that, I am done. By the way, what do you think of my location? I'm abusing my work privileges. This is my place at work. I'm so lucky. Yeah, this is a bedroom with some furniture from the 1830s, which is cool. Onto the garment, onto the wrapper. It's such a comfortable garment. Like it will be perfect on cold mornings. It has all of those layers across the shoulders, which is always where I am the most cold. So that's perfect. I think it'll be lovely in the morning. I think it'll be lovely in the evening. I'm very excited to wear it a lot. Next time, on the same note of me being worried about being cold, which I always am, we're gonna be tackling some outerwear. But until then, bye!